Okay, Megavanan everyone, it is September 4, 2025, and welcome back to a showcase video. This one was requested of me by my dear friend Jez, and so yeah, he wanted to know uh, what kind of movies or what are some um, how did he put it? Basically, what are some movies that I have fond memories of when I went to the video store and rented them? Something like that. He phrased it, you know, much better than that. But basically, what movies do I remember renting, right? That I had fond memories of. Um, oh wow, I didn't even warm up with anything with my usual warm up before I begin to speak, but it's okay. It's all right. I was almost thinking that if I should just stop this and then start over. I just I feel like like I said, I brought everything down, which was not easy for me with my OCD, and I just hit the record button, and here we go. So it's a little sorry for it not sounding very professional. I'm not really trying to. It's not really something I try to work on or anything. This is just other than trying to speak a bit more, um, not clearly, but more smoothly, I should say. Um, well, anyways, that's that's really my problem, but it's okay. There's that, you know, everything being improv and nervousness. That's why I'm pretty sure I'll suck at. Why I'm not very good at like live streams. Those few attempts that I did it more than a few times, but I'm not very good at it. So, um, yeah. So let's just get right to it. My apologies. I'm sorry about that. Uh, so I'm going to start with. Um, Now this is the first film. This was back in the 80s that I ever borrowed, or rather my mom borrowed for me. I had to have been maybe 9 years old, 9 maybe 10 years old, and there was a store, like an electronics store, just more like a little shop really, um, which was pretty close. No, not pretty close to where I lived at the time when I lived on Bodie Road. Um, and it was called Silo. Oh, was it called Silo? Oh yeah, I'm almost sure it's called Silo. Well, we just bought a VHS, a VCR player, and I believe it was from there. Keep in mind I was like 9 years old, 10 years old, so maybe even younger, maybe more like 8 or 9. So some of the details may be a little off, but the way they have it, because they have a respectable amount of movies you could borrow on VHS, and like I said, they sold VCRs and other electronic equipment, cameras, things like that, and the way they have it is on display, and they have a glass display. It's about, if you're standing. Well, for me as a kid, it's like up to my chin. I had to but it doesn't really matter. It's all glass. Just think of a jewelry store, and how it's all when you're shopping for like a ring or a necklace or something at a jewelry store. A display case like that. But they had their VHS tapes down there, and you could browse through them. And this is the film I saw there, and it caught my eye. Jason and the Argonauts, my very first film that I ever rented, or rather my mom rented, on VHS. And I really love this one. Special effects by Ray Harryhausen, and the Greek mythology of Jason going on his quest for the Golden Fleece, and I think the ship was called the Argo or Argus. I can't remember, but the Argus. And yeah, he's in search of the Golden Fleece, and he has people like Hercules and various other people that he recruited for his quest. And as I said, great stop motion effects by Ray Harryhausen. The skeletons, the army of skeletons, not really army of skeletons. It was just like a handful of skeletons that spawned, and they had to, Jason and his crew had to fight them. There was a giant, like a brass, not brass, bronze. Is it brass or bronze? I think maybe bronze. It's called a giant bronze statue of like a gladiator with a sword, and they had to kind of bypass that thing. So great stop motion effects by Ray Harryhausen. And at the time, being a kid, I was absolutely blown away by this film. So I will always have a soft spot for Jason and the Argonauts. Oh, here are the skeletons right here. In fact, I believe it was these skeletons back here and these effects that inspired Sam Raimi to with his Army of Darkness, which was a sequel to Evil Dead. Those skeleton effects, and he used stop motion for that. Okay, let me put this down over here. Okay, and I'll say also that there's a few other films that I guess sort of like honorable mentions. And what else? So I might bring that up even though I don't have them to show. Another fond memory that I have is, even though it wasn't something I rented, but I remember for Army of Darkness when that still on? That was still during the VHS days, right? At Line Video, and I remember overhearing, it was a black family, and they're looking for something to rent, and the mother said, "Oh yeah, that's Army of Darkness. That film was funny," and I remember him or her, talking a little bit about it, and just overhearing that. I didn't catch every word that they were saying, but I just remember that how she said it was a funny film, and she really liked that one. I can't even recall or remember if they even rented that. But that's another fond memory. Oh, another one would be honorable mentions. Before I go on and show the other ones here. And actually, really quick, I really wanted to start off with this. When I did my, some of my favorite composers, and even though it's not a video composer, this was a request from Slice of Scott. I forgot to mention Danny Elfman. I cannot believe, how can I forget Danny Elfman? Okay, so he was another one. Okay, but the Night of the Demons films, that franchise, the trilogy, I have them all. Yep, I have them all. I have them all on Blu-ray, the whole Night of the Demons, with I think her name was Amelia Kincaid, I think was the actress who played Angela Franklin. So I have fond memories renting, that, that franchise, those films, and I would look forward sort of, to the next one. So after I rented the first one, and that unforgettable ending with the razors in the apple pie, I'll say, and I just remember, coming back as the months and years go by, seeing Night of the Demons 2, and then I got excited then again, as a little bit of time went by, and I saw Night of the Demons 3, and I was just hoping it would just keep going on, but it didn't. But that's another honorable mention from Line Video. Also, even though this was not a rental, because you, Jez, you brought up that it was by Universal, this Halloween 2, I was trying to remember the label. And if you look on the back, yeah, it is universal. You can see the logo back there, universal. And when you look, you can see it has, it's on this side now, sorry, Terror in the Isles, right? So this is the one. This is the edition that, I don't know how hard it is to get now, but I'm glad I have this one. Okay, and this one I remember borrowing this one from the library, and I would just keep checking this one out. There's many films I remember borrowing from the library, but like I said, as I was going through my collection, if I pulled it wouldn't end. I'd be, oh yeah, I remember this one, but I'll just keep pulling movies off the shelf, and it just wouldn't stop. So I tried to pick just a few or small handful of some of my most favorite memories, even though there's much more favorite memories than this, but still, this one is Galaxy of Terror. There is a memorable erotic scene, let's say, involving the actress Taffy O'Connell and a giant worm, and let's just say during that scene, her clothes are slowly disintegrating, until she's absolutely naked. And that's all I'm going to say, and it only affects the clothing, let's say. But yeah, this is one that I just remember. But other films I remember renting, but other films I remember not renting but borrowing from the library. And this is all during the VHS days. There was Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. That was one. Halloween, of course. The Halloween series. Some other, few Corman classics. But this is one. Okay, and another one now this was from Farmore that I remember renting. This is a 4-pack, but the one film in particular that I'm talking about, I've seen all these films on here already, but the one in particular was Barbarian Queen, starring Lana Clarkson. And by the way, I have these Deathstalker 1 and 2. This one here, the first one is with Richard Hill. The second one is with John Terlesky. I believe this girl is supposed to be Monique Gabrielle right here, even though this is not really any of their likeness. But okay, look at the cover of that Barbarian Queen, and you'll understand why it caught my eye. Is it gonna... Yeah, I'm really sorry, it's just not gonna... Doesn't want to focus. Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. But I think you get the idea. And sadly, Lana Clarkson was killed by Phil Spector. I think it was like a producer, a music producer or something. And here's Lana Clarkson on the back. Here we have David Carradine here as well. This is from that the Warrior and the Sorceress. But yeah, Barbarian Queen, and back during these days, I couldn't borrow it on my own. And this at Farmore, you actually, it's a grocery store, but it had a section, a little corner, it's a respectable corner of a bunch of films that you could borrow, and you had to pay for them. I don't remember the cost, but it was my mom that would always have to check it out for me. And Barbarian Queen was one of them, and I was expecting something more along the lines of Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, but when I popped it in, it just was not that. It was just very bad quality, but it's a very bad film. It's terrible, if not for the entertainment value, so bad it's, you could say it's so bad it's good, but it's maybe just so bad it's good for me, or to me. I'd just give it maybe like it's a 3-star movie, a 2-star movie really. But it's quite bad. But Barbarian Queen, other movies I remember renting from there, from Farmore, and I'm gonna show it right here. A lot of full moon pictures. Puppet Master #2. Okay. In fact, I believe I started with Puppet Master 2, and then I went backwards and saw 1, and then eventually 3, and then the other ones as they came out. There was a box set where you have, I think, 9 or 10 of the Puppet Master films, and I'd still like to get that, from the Full Moon site. A lot of the Full Moon pictures I would borrow from either Farmore or a different library, so not the same library that I borrowed, Galaxy of Terror from, but films like Seed People. There was Dr. Mordred, I remember, borrowing as well from the library. But, a lot of the Full Moon pictures I would borrow from either Farmore or the library, different library. But yeah, the second one, it stars the gorgeous Charlie Spradling, and the other film I know her from, which I also rented from Farmore, was To Sleep with a Vampire, which also starred, I think his name was Nick Valentine. He played, I think his first name was Nick, right? Last name was Valentine. I think not Nick Valentine. Nick Valentine was that robot from Fallout 4. Just give me a moment here. Let me pause this. Oh, is it unpaused? Okay, yeah. It just hit me. Scott Valentine. I paused it, and then it just hit me. Scott Valentine was his name. But he was on Family Ties, and he was Mallory's boyfriend. Embrace of the Vampire, starring... what was her name? The charmed one, Alyssa Milano, starring her. That was another film I remember borrowing from Farmore. And Naked Obsession, I think it was called, and it stars William Catt, who was the greatest American hero. Now keep in mind, I was just, maybe at the time now, like maybe 11 years old, 12 years old maybe, but anywhere between 10 and 12, when I started borrowing some of these. So I know I was not supposed to be seeing those films, but Naked Obsession was a erotic thriller, and we'll leave it at that. And it stars William Catt. Go ahead and check it out. But yeah. So, anyways, yeah, those are some of my films with my fondest memories. Yeah, it was great times, So, anyways, thank you, and Ready, Jez, for this. Did I say it was Jez who asked for this? Thank you, Jez, for inspiring this idea to make this video, and thank you.